Welcome to the second part of the event sign-up system report series. In this video, we will discuss managing the presence of the players of your raiders. Normally, this will happen as the event is being formed, but it can happen after the event is ongoing. So we're going to start with our event report that we had from before, and we're going to start inviting people to the raid. So I've invited, or actually I'm having a Glorian invite players, and as he's inviting, I am poking on this column here that says the player is absent or present, and so I'm going to go ahead and mark Aisling as present, and you can see the Aisling's button went from black to green. If I made a mistake, I can re-click on that and it'll move Aisling back to not present. This present column is very useful for distributing DKP, and it is important that you have it set accurately when you are giving out DKP points, team red points, what have you. So right now, if you look down, we have 24 people in our raid force. And so we've invited several people. Now, a Glorian was way ahead of me and actually invited and told me who we were missing. So instead of clicking those buttons 24 times, I'm going to skip ahead and say set all players present with this button here. And that's going to set every player in my raid force as present. And he's going to let me know who I'm missing. So we're going to be missing Hybris. She hasn't shown up yet. And we're missing Maroil. So since they haven't joined the raid force yet, while we're waiting for them to join up, we will start managing the queue and see who is present for the raid force. The players that are in the queue are expected to show up regardless of whether they're frozen or the queue or not. So before we actually start the raid, we need to ensure that we've heard from every single player within the queue. Now the queue order here will represent the order that's in the event sign-up based on the weights and priorities and how that shaked out. So the player with the Q1 has a higher priority than a player with Q8. So when you're replacing members, generally you want to place from the top to the bottom. But make sure that your raid force can actually succeed when you replace them. Now in the queue, you can see that this player has decided to mark themselves as frozen, which means they are available to raid, but they may not want to raid. If you decide you need them and you bring them into the raid force and they refuse, you must mark them as a no-show, because being queued means you're willing to raid. Alright, we have not heard from Maroil, we have not heard from Hybris. We actually have 5 power regens, so we are going to... Well, we heard from Hybris. She had to cancel. Hybris couldn't join us. So we're going to click on this button here to cancel Hybris from the raid. But since she just told us, we need to also come to the bottom here and mark Hybris as a cancel late, because she canceled after the raid exited preview. So next to Hybris's name, we'll click on this red box here, and that's going to move her into a new area called Cancel Late. If you make a mistake, you can click the box again to move them down to no sign or what have you. Now, Maroil just didn't tell anybody, so it's come up on the raid replacement time, generally 5 minutes before the raid. Some raid leaders like 10 minutes before the raid. So we're going to mark Maroil as a no-show by clicking on the orange box. And that has put Maroil down here in the no-show area. Everybody else in our queue has responded to us, so we're going to go ahead and bring in new members. Now, since Aurora is frozen, we will honor her request not to raid today and skip past her and pick up Medina. If I needed to, I could skip past Medina to get Hoagie if Hoagie would make a big difference on the raid. The queue is a suggestion at this point, but it's generally you generally need to follow that suggestion when you can. Since we lost 2 DPS, 2 mages, I'm going to go ahead and bring the mages in by unqueuing them like this.
God, that was horrible.
So, and I'll unqueue Hoagie. Even though I lost a mage, a bruiser does good DPS and we can use him. But remember to mark them as present when they get here. Now, you also notice that there are some came late flags, left early flags, and fill-in flags. If Linnea came late, which is after the official start time of the raid, which in this raid is 1 o'clock Eastern, go ahead and click the button to mark Linnea as came late. This will affect Linnea's future signups, the weight that Linnea has. Now, that's generally how the pre-raid will set up. We've got our full raid, 1 to 24. Our raid is started. Now, Sankus had to leave. Sankus had to leave. He had an emergency, but he had to leave. So, what we can do is we can say, all right, Sankus, you have left early. So we'll mark a left early flag for Sankus, and then we'll mark Sankus as not present. Alright, so Sankus will not be getting any DKP from this time forward, or points, Team Red points from this time forward. But now we need to replace Sankus. So again, we go by the queue and say who is available to raid. Since our raid is already ongoing, hypothetically, after the raid startup time, these members do not have to drop what they're doing and come on the raid force. It's optional from this point, from the time we say queue is dismissed. So Traxxas is already busy, as is Gandel, but Umi is available. Umi's going to come in, so I'm going to move Umi back into the raid force. And then I'll mark Umi as present here. Now, since Umi didn't get to go on the entire raid, and he's filling in, we can add a flag here that will give him extra weight for next time. Not as much as he would have gotten if he stayed in the queue, but still something that offset the fact that he didn't get to raid the entire time. So that's pretty much setting the players present and not present and adjusting the quick flags here. The next section will go over adding loot. Notice that I do have 25 people in the raid, but because Sankus is not present, he still counts, but he's not present. Also, the buttons disappear here, moving him to cancel, queue, or no-show, because he has a flag over here, so that's just an FYI. Alright, well, we'll see you on the next section of the event report. Thank you very much.